Our next guest on PNE Pod, the official Preston North End podcast, is the new North End manager, Paul Heckingbottom. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you.
Now, what makes PNE the perfect opportunity for you back in the game now after a spell away?
Yeah, lots of reasons. I think the timing was a good one for me. I'd sort of got my head round waiting and seeing what comes up in the season. And yeah, for an opportunity like this to come up so soon into season, I had to be throwing my hat in the ring and going for it.
Are we calling you Paul or Hecky?
Yeah, only my mum calls me Paul. yeah.
And the boys call you Gaffer?
Yeah, they do it, yeah. I've that's been mixed, to be fair. A lot of the clubs I've been at as well. So Barnsley, first job, I'd gone from working closely with the players as a coach to then taking over, so that was always Hecky. Then first window comes, half your squad leaves, you sign new player, half the squad call you Hecky, half the squad call you Gaffer. At Sheffield United, all the senior boys call me Gaffer, the young boys I'd worked with in the 21s called me Hecky, so yeah, I'm not fussed.
Have you never had a meeting where you've said, this is what I want to be called?
Don't bother me, no.
As long as it's not Paul,
yeah.
I think he's happy.
No,
I had a manager who said, I want to be called Boss.
Boss?
So that was it. We had
Who
to call
was
him Boss.
Yeah.
That was Gerard Houllier.
Gerard Houllier, you
got
called
to
him
call
Boss?
him Boss.
Boss, not Gaffer, yeah.
So it was like, fine. He made that
seem to
clear.
have stuck on Gaffer here. Yeah, they seem to have stuck on that, so.
Yeah, Gaffer works. You were on holiday when you got the phone call from Peter to say, let's have a chat. Where were you? Were you on
Just
a sun
on the
lounge?
East Coast, yeah. At the end of the school holidays, weren't it? And I don't usually get that time with the kids, so yeah, we were away just a few days, and we actually had one book then the last week of the school holidays, so they went away without me. But I was glad to be here. You'd forsake holiday to be back in working. So yeah, Peter rung me on the Saturday night. We'd been out, so I've not followed the games that day. Got back and there was 2 missed calls off Peter, 2 missed calls off my agent. So yeah, just obviously I knew what it was about straight away. And just chatting to Peter, he said, would you be up for a chat? Would you come through? And I said, I'm away, but I'll come back tomorrow. So on the Sunday night, came through, met Peter and Craig. Be fair, on the drive through and with a few conversations, I was thinking, I think they want me to do the job. You just get a vibe, I think they want me to do the job here, providing that, they like what I say, I like what they say. So yeah, it wasn't like an interview process per se. They've done the research. The conversations were good. And yeah, it's just a case of, of course I will. Let's get things sorted. And then, things got sorted Monday morning. And then,
Do you go suited and booted or not for those sort of interviews? You think, I want to look $1 million there.
I literally just drove back in straight from holiday, dropped the kids off and then drove straight through. So, no, I was wanting to get through and have the conversation. So, relaxed. And so we changed venues. I ended up going to the training ground. Yeah, so it was good for me to get a good feel of that place and meet Craig and meet Peter. And yeah, 'cause it's different when you're meeting about a job. Obviously, I knew Peter, we'd crossed paths a few times before. But he's got an opinion of me, I've got an opinion of him, and then you're meeting to discuss working together. And that's probably what Craig and Peter were after the most. They've probably done the research and is he a good fit for this reason, but then you sit down in front of people and it's, could I see myself working with him? And I think that's what all that was about. And I was pleased we got everything sorted.
I've always wondered that from a supporter's perspective. What do managers actually talk to chairman about in interviews? Is it the tactical side of things? Is it a vision for the club? Because that's the kind of part of the game that supporters don't ever really get to see.
Yeah, different, and it depends where you go for what job. And I don't want to seem speaking out term, just to give a bit away. Sometimes you go and there's a presentation and all sorts, and I've sat there and known that the people I'm presenting for to potentially go and work for, I've not got a clue what I'm saying.
What, tactically or?
Tactically, football. They think that they want a vision for the club, but really what they're saying, and they want something totally different. And and then you have a dilemma then, is it the right job for me? Are these the right people I'm working for? Sometimes it's not. But in this case, like I said, I think I got the impression they'd done a lot of research on me in terms of the people I work with, players, staff I'd work with, so what environment do I create, that type of thing. And then more about the context in which you work, do you know what I mean? So not just about the results and getting success, but that work? Why was that successful? And then drawing sort of parallels from that. Well, that's similar to what we had here, or not. So yeah, that's the impression that I got, that there'd been a lot of homework done on me, and the conversation was just about that, really.
No presentation from you then?
No, so we spoke a bit about, because I knew a lot about Preston in terms of the players, the squad.
Is that just from watching the Championship over the years?
Knowing, setting up against them. The one or two players I'd not worked with, obviously, and then one or two players I'd not seen too much of who'd come in this season. But yeah, I generally knew how Preston set up. I'd watched then the first few games of the season. Yeah, and I could see a lot of parallels from a squad that I took over at Sheffield United in terms of that was set up to play a certain way. So I was comfortable with that, and knowing where you could possibly take that, even if you don't bring people in. But then also more longer term, the vision of, right, how do we try and change the dynamic of this team to improve and make bigger steps. And yeah, so we spoke more about future transfer windows, future seasons, and where you'd like to take it.
When you leave that meeting, is it a bit like after a game you think, I played well there? Do you think I've had a good performance?
Yeah, I think sometimes this one, like I said, it was different because we had more comments about, would you be interested, would you take the job, you know? So we went a little bit further to, right, it's more a case of, yeah, I want to come and work for you, that's why I'm here. So I had the opportunity to ask questions about the club and where it was and where it was going forward. And because it was just the three of us, Craig and Peter had questions to ask me about, well, what do you do in this, and how do you see this? So it sort of went beyond that, do you know what I mean? By the end of it and leaving it, I'd been offered the job, I'd said I wanted the job, and it just became a case of sorting a contract out then.
So roughly how long between you getting a phone call or a missed call on holiday to you shaking hands with Peter and saying, this is the one for me?
Well, that now, like I said, we'd said, I knew Peter would and Craig were probably a little bit more concerned than me about getting the deal done, because they have to get the deal done. I sort of came away and believe me, I said, look, as long as you're fair and straight, this will be no problem at all, and I meant that. And so we got it all done then on the Monday morning. So from me wanting to do it and then wanting me 24 hours, and then add another 12 hours on the Monday morning to get things agreed.
In terms of that interview process, you've been a manager at a club, a few different clubs. Have you been in different interviews where maybe you thought it's gone well and maybe not got jobs in the past?
Yeah. So all of them, trying to think back scenarios. Yeah, ones where even all the way down to meeting owners and things like that, and yeah, thinking that you'd be a really good fit. In fact, not just thinking, knowing, because you can get a vibe of what a club is really after, despite what he said, and would it be a good fit, looking at the squad. And because football's about opinions, and there's no right or wrong way to play the game, but if you can automatically go and watch a team performing and playing and think just in your natural setup and how you approach things tactically, how you approach things when you're dealing with players, that you could see a different result in that group of players, you're going to really want that job. But sometimes that's not always seen on the other side as well. So yeah, there's been that. There's been ones where I've been offered the job and I've said no, because I couldn't see myself working with those people. And there's been ones where you don't even get in front of people, you know. So yeah, all sorts. Then ones where you sort of twice I've fallen into a job. Once at Barnsley, where I wasn't really looking to be a manager. The same at Sheffield United, where I took over for a spell, but I'd only take over if I didn't, you know, come in writing that I had my job back with the 21s, because I was enjoying that. And then the next time it came up, it was again, and so long as that contract was right, I thought, right, let's do it. So yeah, it's not something I'm precious about being a manager, it's the game, and there's lots about being a manager I really, really like. There's some bits that come with it I could do without, but working with players, the games are the best bits.
Well, you mentioned about timing and arriving at Preston and becoming the new manager. You're out of the game, about 8 months, something like that, having left Sheffield United, getting them promoted before that. Were you tempted to maybe get him before? Because fans are always interested.
Yeah.
Well, did he get any offers, any kind of sniffs before that? Or were you just sort of confident and patient that when it felt right, that would come along?
All those things. So the first time I was out of work was when I left Leeds from leaving school, you know, and it was a funny ending, and we knew, and we no qualms about that. But after a little while, when you're out of work, it was tough. I didn't enjoy it. And then when the season started, I really started struggling. I'm thinking, everyone else is getting better, I'm not, you know. And I started to get anxious about it, and I didn't enjoy it. And I said, I'll not do that again. And that's one of the reasons, like, I'm not too precious about being the manager. I went into Sheffield United to work with players again. So I've had that feeling, and I didn't like it. But having had that feeling and expecting it, it was totally different. Plus, I'd had a few more experiences since then, and when I left Sheffield United, I made a conscious decision, look, that's me, I'm not doing anything. I knew the role there and the job and what I'd given to it, and I knew it had taken a lot out of me, more than I thought really at the time. But I thought, you know, the best thing for me is, if I want to give my best to another club again, I'm going to take these next 5-6 months and see what comes up in the summer. But of course, then you get tested straight away. A lot of people lost their jobs after me in the Championship, and when you've just had a promotion out of the Championship, it's nice that people ask you. And I was tempted by one, but I'm glad I didn't. And what I said to that club at the time, I said, look, I should be more enthused than I feel. And I said, that tells me you wouldn't be getting the manager you think you had. And if I'm going to come and make a change, I need the energy, the drive, the aggression, everything about it to make that change. And I was saying it, and I knew I was right, but I was thinking, what if another one doesn't come? You know, what if another one doesn't come? But I was right. And then it comes to summer, and it's not easy to get jobs. Some for whatever reason, everyone's got, there's thousands of coaches, there's hundreds of managers who you could think of who've had success who are out of work. So you have to understand that and know it's not simple. I think the good thing about me is, like I said, I'm not precious about being the manager. You know, I know I can go and work, I know I can go and work with players, so that's it. But I did want to manage. So I went through all those, no, I'll wait, tempted to jump in, but I know it was right not to. To then that summer where, okay, nothing's come up for me at the minute. You know, ones that I probably wanted, I didn't get offered. The ones that got offered, I didn't really want. So you're sitting tight and then thinking, when might the next ones come? I didn't think it'd be, you know, a couple of weeks into the season.
Quite early. You said to me you went and watched a few teams train as well. Bayer Leverkusen, Girona. They had decent seasons last season.
Yeah, well, that was a reason. So it was something I did when I was coaching. Did a study on Jurgen Klopp was at Dortmund at the time. And it's something we were set as one of the badges, and it was really good. Yeah, really good project. We all got a lot out of it, all the coaches, and we were sort of split into the 8 best footballing nations at that time, and split into groups of 3. And someone did the national team of that country. Our 3 was Germany. Someone did the national team of that country. Someone did one of the youth teams of that country, and someone did one of the top domestic teams of that country. Or if we had some of the girls on the course. Gemma now, who's now women's Norway manager. Emma Hayes was on. So they might have done the women's national team, or, you know, elite women's team in that nation. And the study was just to really look into that team, whichever one you did, and then you were drawing parallels from that nation. So was there a synergy between the domestic teams, the national teams and youth teams? Long story short, biggest outcome was most had real clarity except for England. England, if you think about it, we've got so much influence on our domestic game, it's frightening. And at that point, our first team didn't play anything like our youth teams, and certainly our top domestic teams didn't play anything like England or our youth teams. So why were the reasons? But anyway, I ended up choosing, we had Germany and I had the domestic teams, but I chose Dortmund above Bayern Munich simply because they're outperforming them. Smaller budget, lesser known, what were they doing better? And loved it. It was really good, took a lot out of it. A lot of how they played sat with how I saw the game. And because I liked it so much, I then did another team. So Atletico Madrid were outperforming Real Madrid and Barca in Spain. So I did the same sort of thing for myself for Atletico again.
So that was Klopp Dortmund, this was Simeone Atletico.
Yeah, and they were out, two of the teams, so why are they outperforming everyone else?
And are you meeting the managers as well?
No, this was just purely football, because I was working at the time. This was just purely football. You get to, if you delve that deep, you get to understand more than football. So the managers embodied the clubs, or should I say the teams embodied the managers, and the environments around that, which is huge. Yeah, so I got a lot out of it, and then never had the opportunity to do it again. At the time I left Sheffield United, I was already really interested in what Girona were doing. I'd seen some games, then people would start to talk about Bayer Leverkusen because they were still undefeated. So yeah, just through connections, got the opportunity to go out and watch and work and speak to the managers this time, which was good.
What sort of conversations are you having with Xabi Alonso?
Yeah, Xabi he kept himself to himself, and I was out there when he was preparing for games, so I actually got there to watch him work, brilliant, but I actually got more access to the dynamic of the club and the setup of the club, which was interesting. Yeah, but so whilst you're looking at the tactical element of the teams, which is great, and they, to a lot of people's eyes, play totally different football, but there's still a lot of similarities, and then those similarities are the reason why they're outperforming others in their leagues who they shouldn't be. So yeah, they're really good. And now I've got to spend 5 days out there and then a week out in Girona, and yeah, really good for me. Gets you energised again.
Scored. Preston take the lead, and that's exactly what it means to Neil Mellor to score in the West Lancashire derby.